everybody, and welcome. My name is Kendra, and I'm from the Japan Society of Northern California. Thank you so much for joining us. If you don't know about us, we are a nonprofit organization that's located in the Bay Area, and our whole goal is to promote connection between the Japan and the US. So the main ways that we do that are through language programs as well as events like the one tonight. And you guys are definitely in for a treat. Tonight, we're going to be showing our Kyudo event, and it's one of our traditional art and modern Japan series programs. So I hope you guys enjoy it a lot. There's definitely some very interesting things in store. But enough about me. I'm and the society. I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful moderator now, Mr. Fred Borda. He's the COO of Aerial Innovation, as well as a senior karate instructor. And I hear that he's been doing karate for over 30 years. So he knows a lot about martial arts. So anyway, take it away, Mr. Borda.
Thanks very much, Kendra. And thank you to the Japan Society of Northern California for putting on this event today and for asking me to moderate. So I'm really excited to help facilitate this journey into the world of Kyudo today. I have a confession. Even though I have been doing karate for a few years, I admit that I know very little about Kyudo. So I'm really looking forward to learning a lot today. And we couldn't have two more perfect guides to get us into this today. So let me introduce them now. They're Maria Peterson and Tim McMillan. Maria Peterson began studying Kyudo in 1994 in California. In 2016, she designed and built the first Kyu Dojo on the West Coast, Redwood Kyu Dojo in La Honda, California. Maria is the president of Redwood Kyu Dojo, also the president of the Northern California Kyudo Federation, the president of the American Kyudo Renmei, and the director of the International Kyudo Federation. She has the rank of Renshi Rokudan, 6th Dan, and Sanbon To in Ogasawara Ryu. She also has a day job working in corporate venturing and innovation for JSR Micro in Sunnyvale, California. Tim began his Kyudo study in the UK and was invited to learn Kyudo from Hideharu Onuma Hanshi, master senior instructor in Japan. Tim has trained in Yabusame, which is horse archery, and performs at Nikko Toshogu in the fall events. Tim is Renshi Godan, 5th Dan, and Nurimuchi in Ogasawara Ryu. In 2021, Tim and Maria opened Ogasawara Ryu America. Tim is the Shibucho, the head, and Maria is the Jimukyoku, or probably Jimukyokcho. And that's not all. Tim and Maria actually met through one of the joint practices of Kyudo organization back in 2012, and then they were married in 2019. So let me turn it over to Maria and Tim to give us to literally walk us through the world of Kyudo today. Maria, please.
Great. Thank you so much for the very kind introduction and hosting by the Japan Society of Northern California. Welcome to Redwood Kyu Dojo. I would like to introduce you to a little bit about Redwood Kyu Dojo by walking around this space. But first of all, where are we? We're in La Honda, California. We're about an hour from San Francisco, an hour from San Jose, also an hour from Silicon Valley, between Silicon Valley and the Pacific Coast. And as you can see, if you look up, we're in the Coast Redwoods, and this is what gives the name of Redwood Kyu Dojo. When we have visitors come, we like them to stay if they can. Certain friends will stay. We have a very small cabin that Tim built just in the center of your screen there. You have to walk up a path through the redwoods to get to the cabin. We also invite guests to enjoy our ofuro. So, you know, the last 2 years, we were not able to travel to Japan. So we brought a little bit of Japan to us. Tim is fairly talented with building things. And what he's done is build this hut, and inside we put a cedar hot tub, which is fired by a wood-fired boiler. When it's cold like today, you know, hot tubs can happen. But with no further ado, let's go into the Kyudo. Of course, being a place of Budo, we take our shoes off. So we're passing a shoe rack here. And before stepping in, I'll leave my shoes on the outside and transfer them. And let's go inside. Let's go through the Norin. Okay, starting here. This is a bow rack of Kyudo bows. And since you're all curious about Kyudo, this is Kyudo 101, comprehensive introduction after all. I'm going to show you what a Kyudo bow looks like and how big it is. This is very lightweight, but it's also very tall. If I extend my hand up, you can see this bow is about 7 feet tall. The grip is below the center. This is quite a distinctive feature of Japanese archery. You know, most archery, especially Western archery, tends to have a grip in the center, symmetrical limbs, top and bottom. The Japanese bow made of bamboo, you know, bamboo is a grass, it's stronger and wider at the bottom, narrower and more delicate at the top. And that growth pattern is reflected in how the Japanese bow is constructed. It's a recurve bow. So if I take 2 bows, put them next to each other, these bows are both in the same orientation. The unstrung bow in my left hand has a curvature to the left from my perspective, and the strung bow has the opposite curvature. So a bamboo bow is not simply bamboo, although in the very beginning it was. I mean, a staff of wood or a staff of bamboo could have made a bow. And 2,000 years ago in Japan, that's exactly what bows were. There was some art showing Empress Jingu from 2,000 years ago holding a bow. Today, we have composite bows, and they're often having a bamboo outside, front and back, and a hardwood on the sides, and then slices of bamboo in the center going in the perpendicular direction. So this type of structure makes for a very strong bow, and yet very light. Modern bows don't have to be bamboo. This one's a fiberglass bow. It works very well. It's much less costly. It's a great way for beginners to get started. And you might say, well, that bow is very huge. Maybe you're a very small person. Bows come in different sizes. So here, if Tim pans to the top of the bows, the one wrapped in black, that's namisun. This is a standard height of bow. The next one wrapped in gray, this is a nisun nobi bow. This is the height of bow that I use for my height. And then this last bow is a yonsun. This is the size of bow that Tim uses as a taller person. Bow development certainly started at least 2,000 years ago. And of course, archery developed in many cultures. In Japan, we start seeing the formation of what we call yumi in the Heian era, and it was really established from the Kamakura time moving forward. And several schools of archery have flourished throughout all of these years. The Ogasawara family that we have joined with their organization 5 years ago, they started from, they traced their family from Emperor Seiwa, who was the 56th emperor of Japan. And they were asked by Emperor Takakura to start instructing the samurai in the arts of etiquette and archery and horse archery. A few other schools were formed in the 15th century. You saw the Heki Ryu. In the 19th century, the Honda Ryu. And in modern days, we have the All Nippon Kyudo Federation, founded in 1949, and the International Kyudo Federation, founded in 2006. Here in America, the American Kyudo Council started in 1996, now the American Kyudo Renmin. But what is Kyudo? So here we have a few charts. I show all of our beginners these charts because these are the 8 steps of Kyudo. You think just 8 steps, that should be pretty simple. But the art of Kyudo is to control the emotions, the breathing, the gazing, in order to have a calm body and a stable mind. So this mind and body collaboration is very important, and we walk people through the 8 steps of shooting in order to help to cultivate that calm mind and body connection. Continuing to walk around the Kyudojo, if we look up, there's a couple of older bows that have been retired. The one with the stripes, a Shigeto Yumi, very high rank Yumi. Next to it, we have our Dojo member board. These are members who have joined us since the beginning, and some are just starting every month or so. Let's take a look down here. I've assembled a few arrows that I'd like to show you. When we start beginners, they shoot at a short distance, and the fletching, the feathers on the arrow are what control the arrow going straight. But when you're shooting at a short distance, that's not important to have fletching. So either short distance arrows, they have no fletching like this one, or they have a cut back fletching like this one. When you move to distance arrows, they might be quite beautiful, like this pair. They are eagle, feather, and bamboo shafts. Here's a pair that are with swan feathers. Arrows like these can be a bit on the pricey side, so beginners always start with fletching that are made of turkey feather. Sometimes they're painted to look nice and beautiful, like this set. And sometimes the shaft isn't bamboo. This happens to be aluminum, this black one. It's an aluminum shaft. And when we're shooting especially long distance, so what we're looking at, what you'll see today is shooting at 28 meters. When you're shooting more than double that, 60 meters, we use what's called anteki arrows. And they have the 3 fletching that you saw on the other arrows. It's just very short, and the shaft itself is very thin. This happens to be made of carbon graphite. Okay, keep moving. A different type of arrow completely is the Yabusame arrow used for horse archery. In that case, there aren't 3 fletching, but 4. In this case, there's 2 large fletching and 2 soft, short fletching that are pheasant. So eagle and pheasant. We'll get into that with a demonstration in just a little bit. So let's look down. We've got different types of gloves. In Kyudo, one of the most important pieces of equipment is the Kyudo glove. 3 kinds of glove in principle. The Mitsugake, it has 3 fingers, Mitsugake. This is my old glove. And what's a really key feature about the Kyudo glove is that there's a groove in the thumb where we catch the string. That means you don't have to stretch your thumb joint. You don't get too tired by pulling with your thumb joint. You push your base, the belly of your thumb into the string using this groove that's in the thumb. And it's a hard thumb, so you can't bend your thumb. Another type of glove used especially with stronger bows is the Yotsugake. This is a 4-finger glove. This one has seen lots of use. This is from Tim's close to 40 years of Kyudo history. And finally, there's the Morogake. Morogake is the 5-finger glove, and this is used by the Ogasawara family. This is my glove for the Ogasawara training. And then the last set of gloves you'll also see used today, though it's a pair of gloves instead of just one. A pair of glove is used when you're doing horse archery or the wooden horse archery, training for the horse archery. Okay, let's keep moving. On the wall, we've got quite a number of plaques and certificates. So Up top, we've got some plaques that were targets from Yabusame, pieces of target that were hit. Here we have certificates from the All Nippon Kyudo Federation. My rank certificates are on top and Tim's are right here. If we step over, now we're walking into the Ogasawara space of our dojo. So as Fred mentioned, last year we were asked to form the first overseas branch of the Ogasawara Ryu. And now we've got 27 members, I believe. They're from all over the Americas, from North to South America. So Kiyomoto Sensei wrote the calligraphy for the Ogasawara America branch for us. And these are our certificates in the Ogasawara form. So keeping going, there's quite a few pieces that are Ogasawara related on these shelving, but of particular importance is the hikime arrow. The hikime is a whistling arrow. It's used in Shinto ceremonies of significance, like opening a shrine, or in our case, opening a Kyudojo. This was shot by Kiyomoto Ogasawara Sensei here in the dojo. 2 shots. One was for purification of the grounds, shot from inside the Kyudojo to the matoba, the target area. And the second was shot from behind in the backyard, up and over the 2-story structure, and it landed safely in the redwoods. Okay, now I'm coming across a beautiful thing. This is Mokuba. We call her Moku-chan. And Moku-chan is a wooden horse used for horse archery. We start horse archery training on the ground. And then you move to the wooden horse. This one pivots. So the motion is similar to the running of a horse, but it's for practice. So that you're ready to be on a horse that's moving at full gallop with you not holding onto it anymore. You're trying to shoot your bow and your arrow. Okay, now we're close to the front of the Kyudojo. We're looking up at the shrine, the Kamidana. And here we have a shrine with the names of the 3 most important Shinto shrines in Japan for the martial arts. And it's surrounded by the typical Shinto accoutrement that goes along with shrines, the bay leaves, the sake, the salt. And below it is a scroll. This was something that Tim got when he lived in Japan for 5 years in the 1980s. And this is showing a Yabusame archer wearing Kamakura costume for hunting. This archer was certainly a very high rank. You can see from all of the markings on the bow, this indicates a very high ranked archer. And I would like to also mention the Daiki Shagi Shahokun. These 2 framed texts are classics for the modern archery. We often recite these at the beginning of class or at the beginning of a seminar. The Raiki Shagi is something that dates from the time of Confucius. There's a book of rites. It's called the Book of Rites. It's a book of social etiquette, business etiquette, and basically how to conduct one's life. There's a section within it that refers to archery. And that section is what is depicted up here, written in kanji. And we use it for sort of setting the spiritual state of the archer. Right, with a calm mind and correct inner intention, then you can shoot the bow resolutely, it tells us. And should the result be a failure, you miss your target, then a proper human would then not blame others, but look for the fault within ourselves. The other plaque is the Shahokun. The Shahokun, written by Joshini Junsei. He was an archer at Toshiya. He retired to become a Buddhist monk, and he wrote this. This saying refers to the Kyudo technique of using the structure of the skeleton and you know, having the right structure of the body, therefore being ready to shoot the bow. Should we go to the outside space? We've been walking you through the shajo, the inner place. This is where we shoot the bow from, and we shoot the bow across the yamichi and into the mato, the target, which is over in the azuchi, the sand bank, in a covered structure, matoba. And then if you come back inside, look upstairs, look above, we have animals of the year, the Chinese year. You know, every 12 years, there's a cycle of different animals. For this dojo, we have one hand painted by either Tim or one of the dojo members every year. That becomes a target for New Year's. And then once everybody shoots at that target, it comes and lives up on the wall. So you can see we've been doing this for 4 years, and we have a few more until we have our full collection of 12 animals. Okay, I do believe we're close to the end of the tour, and then we're going to do a demonstration. So here we're looking at makiwara shooting. I showed you a makiwara arrow before, and if I was shooting, I would be standing about 6 feet in front of this target. Excuse me for putting it back to you, but I have to be facing this way to shoot. So I'll be having a bow in front of me. I'll raise the bow, open, and that arrow can then travel just this short distance into the makiwara. And I can be standing directly in front of a student who's learning in this way and guide them. And then finally on the wall, we have some targets. These are called mato. The mato is made of a circle of wood. It's stitched together with some kind of a stitch. This one happens to be plastic. Sometimes they're stitched together with metal. And it's got a paper that's tight like a drum, so that when you hear the sound of an arrow hitting this, it's got a beautiful sound. It's the sound of the bowstring and the sound of the arrow hitting the target that are revered in Shinto. And we look for those sounds when we do ceremonial demonstrations, and we value those sounds. There's a Japanese term called sae, where you listen to the sound of something. It might be a musical instrument, it might be a voice, it might be a target. And that sound just brings good feeling, good emotion, and power to this situation. So these are our standard targets. They're called kasumi mato. This is supposed to feel like a mist. It's actually difficult to focus on a pattern like this. When you really want to focus on your target hitting, then you might use a target like this one with just a single spot in the center, or a gold, very, very small target. That's kinmato. Yeah. That one we sometimes bring out for our special New Year's tournaments.
Right.
All right. It's time to go do demonstration. And I think as I get ready, Tim will do some explanation of some of the procedures.
Yeah, so we're going to show 2 styles of shooting. We're going to start with something more ancient in the Ogasawara style. We're not performing full ceremonies or anything. This is just a short demonstration to give you some idea of the styles and the differences between these styles. So Ogasawara Ryu has over 800 years of history, and they perform many ceremonies around Japan. One of them is the Omato, the large target ceremony, Omato Shiki. So Maria is going to perform a short piece of that ceremony. So she's put on her 5-fingered glove, and she's adding a little bit of pine resin to the thumb. If you can get the little container to work. So why do we have this? You can hear it's a little sticky. So what we're aiming for is that the hand, the mete, the right hand that draws the string, should be relaxed, not gripping. So the fingers are going to be relaxed. We're drawing the string with the thumb. So the giriko, that pine resin, just gives a little bit of stiction to the fingers as they rest on the thumb. Okay, so Maria is now going to begin. So she's wearing shozoku. These are ceremonial robes. And before she shoots, she has to tie back the left sleeve. Otherwise, it would interfere with the bow and the shooting. And to do that, she has to very carefully retie the shozoku. In modern Kyudo, once you get above 5th dan, you wear kimono, so you'd wear hakama and kimono instead of just hakama and keikogi. And you also have to do hadanugi and hadaire. And the ladies perform taski with a sash to tie back the sleeves. Now Maria is performing ashibumi. This is the basic stance when approaching the target. The stance is the width of your arrow length. Right. Now Maria is going to have to remove the sleeve. This is called hadanugi. When we're training Ogasawara Ryu, every motion we do comes with a breath. So this makes all the motions very fluid, very controlled, very relaxed. Now she's knocking the arrows. Both with Ogasawara Ryu, this Omatos ceremony, and with modern Kyudo, we shoot with pairs of arrows. So 2 arrows makes 1 set. You'll see that Maria is already in line with the target. When you make ashibumi, you're essentially, this is where you aim at the target. And then after making ashibumi, you concentrate on your body being straight, and your shoulders and your hips are in line with the target. She checks the string, she looks on the arrow to the target. And now she takes the string, this is called torikake. And she has tenuchi, her grip on the bow. Now we come to uchiokoshi. This is raising the bow above the head. And then there's an intermediate stage called daisan. It's a half draw with the bow suspended up in the air. And then she is opening to full draw. You see how large the draw is. And now she's ready to nock the second arrow. Back in the dozakuri posture. And again, she checks the string from top to bottom, looks along the arrow to the target. So this is where in your mind, you set the connection between the arrow and the target. The bow knows what it needs to do and the arrow will go to the target. We have to somehow allow them to do that. So that arrow just missed the target, but it should make no difference to your performance. Still using the breathing. Now Maria has to perform hada ire, which is to put the arm back into the sleeve. And then retreating. And that's the end of that. So now Maria is going to remove the shozoku. What's the name of this shozoku?
Seikan.
Seikan. So in Ogasawara Ryu, women have only recently been allowed to perform. Again, Ogasawara Ryu was very tied to Shinto ceremonial art. So it was a male preserve for a long time. But the current head of Ogasawara Ryu, Kiyotada, decided that women should be allowed to perform as well. So the seikan is actually shozoku that would have been worn by boys.
Yes, in the Kamakura.
In the Kamakura period.
Also Edo.
And Edo period, yes.
Yes, and the Ogasawara actually started introducing Reiho 3 generations of headmaster ago. So
Yeah.
it was introduced in schools for women.
Ah, Kiyonobu. Maybe it was Kiyonobu Ogasawara. So I met Kiyonobu Ogasawara in 1985, I think it was. And that was a very interesting moment because over the course of 40 years, it has led to our dojo here becoming the first overseas branch of Ogasawara Ryu.
Yes, so you can see some of the construction of this as I fold it. This seikan is made of silk, it's lined. It's a very interesting costume to shoot in because there's a lot more material on you than we are used to in modern clothing. Even in the AMKF Kyudo, where we wear kimono, it's not as long of sleeves as this seikan has.
I'll give you a hand.
Thank you very much. Straighten out my sleeves.
Yep.
Cord.
So there are many, if you speak Japanese, you'll know the term kotowaza. I believe it's like a saying. There are many sayings in Japanese that come from Kyudo. Let me think, what have we got? Kakegai no nai. Yes. So the glove that we use is called a kake. And this is very important to the archer. Each archer's glove is something individual and very important to them. And kakegai no nai means to have something which is really indispensable, something that you cannot be without. Yeah. So, for example, for me, I would say to Maria, kakegai no nai.
Sweet.
You are so important.
Indispensable.
Another one, tenouchi or miseru. Tenouchi is how you hold the glove. It's the intimate connection between, sorry, not how you hold the bow. It's the intimate connection between you and the bow. And if you show somebody your tenouchi, you're giving away your innermost secret. So tenouchi or misenai. Don't give away your innermost secrets. So, but basically in Kyudo, we're taught to take care of these things because they're so precious. And whenever we put a glove on, we have to be kneeling on the floor because this is a very precious object and you don't want any damage to happen to it.
Okay.
Right, so Maria is now going to show you modern Kyudo, the All Nippon Kyudo Reme style of Kyudo.
Yes, I'm just dispensing with the walking in.
Yeah.
For time consideration.
Right. So we start. This is a place called Honza, and you perform Yu to the target. The motions are much more simplified than the old Ogasawara form. The modern Kyudo tai-hai or movements did come from the Ogasawara form, but over the years they've been simplified to make it kind of easier for students of all ages and you know, capability to perform. Again, you'll see that Maria's body is already in line with the target. So in Kyudo, we don't aim with our hands. The aim is with the body and the mind. Again, performing ashibumi. So now she's in line with the target. Again, she's using 2 arrows. She checks the string and looks along the arrow to the target. This is called Tsurishirabe no Shirabe. And she performs torikake, takes the string in the glove, and tenouchi. Tenouchi is one of those things that takes a long time to learn, many years of practice. Again, whether you hit or miss makes no difference. So I should say that the target is difficult to hit. I mean, it is a kind of optical illusion. It's the circles, black and white circles, are painted in such a way as to make it very difficult to focus on. Also, when you're in full draw and you're shooting correctly, just the beating of your heart can send the arrow anywhere within the face of the target. I'll come around this side for this shot. So as Maria said in the Raikishagi and Shakokun scriptures, we're told to use the bones in the body to draw the bow. So we're taking the weight of the bow with our bones. So this is why this position, Daisan, is important, because you're holding the bow essentially with the elbows and then opening the arms symmetrically. There's an important point there called Zanshin, which is after the release, you have the what remains.
I think we have just enough time to do our demonstration of Yabusame.
Right.
Mokuba.
Okay.
Do we want to show the video first while you're getting ready?
Yeah.
Kendra, if you could show that video.
Yes, I'm going to bring it up right now.
Hopefully it's playing smoothly for people. This is Kiyomoto Ogasawara performing Yabusame at Nikko Toshogu in 2019. This was a special time for us because Tim and I actually got married the day before that event. And Tim was one of the archers in that performance. So what he's doing now is putting on his two soft gloves, quite different than the hard glove that we use for standing archery. And then he's going to take his bow. A Yabusame bow is a little bit different than a Kyudo bow, mostly in the string itself. The string has to have a bump on it so that the arrow doesn't slip up or down the string. So that bump keeps the arrow from slipping up. Also, you notice when I was shooting, I got a chance to look at the arrow as I was knocking it. When you're on a galloping horse, you have to watch where you're going. You have to look straight ahead. You cannot look at your arrow or you're going to go severely off course. So one learns to knock without looking at the arrow. So Tim's got some practice mokuba arrows. These are two-fletched.
Kaburaya.
Kaburaya.
Because they have a turnip head. This turnip head.
And in ceremonial forms, the high-rank archers will wear an ebira to carry a quiver to carry the arrows along their back. And for practice, what we do is we carry the arrows inside the hakama, inside the obi. And what he's doing is he's lining them up, making sure that the fletchings are all standing up and the tips are all within reach. So we're going to do a demonstration with this rotating. So I need to put this on the stand because we have two people here, and I'm going to be the person pushing the horse in the circle.
Okay.
All right. How's the
Yep.
view?
Let's do it there.
Everyone can see it. Good. Rotate just a smidge.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to rotate up a little bit so we can see your arrow. It's very tall.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready. Okay. To get started, he has to perform you. That's a bow, an expression of respect for the situation, toward the horse. What I'm going to do with circling is go at a steady pace, and the motion in one circle is meant to be similar to a running horse running from one target to the next. They start with 3 arrows in their quiver, and 1 arrow is not.
No, 3 total.
3 targets, you shoot 3 arrows, 1 arrow per target. And when he's ready, I will go. Okay. So thanks everyone. Once Tim performs his final bow, then that will be the end of our formal prepared comments and demonstration. So what we'd like to do is move to questions. So Fred, if you could help us read any that have come into the chat.
You bet.
Awesome.
You bet. Yeah, that was fabulous. Thank you very much. That was really, really neat. I've seen Kyudo maybe a couple of times on TV or something. This is really something else. So please, anyone who has questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat, in the Zoom chat, and we'll try and go down through and catch as many as we can. And indicate whether you'd like to, if you have a question, if you'd like to turn on your camera and ask the question, that's great. Otherwise, I'll be happy to ask the questions for you. So the first question we have here from a member of the audience, C, actually a couple of questions. So what's the significance of the type of bird feathers? Will they direct the arrow differently? And then, well, let's go ahead and take that one.
Okay, so we like to use birds of prey. They tend to be very fast flying birds. They also have beautiful feathers that last a long time.
Yeah,
so
they're very tough. Yeah.
they're really tough. An eagle feather on an arrow, you can use it for many, many years. We start with turkey feather because they're less expensive. They're very available, but they're also quite brittle. So most of my turkey feather arrows, my beginner arrows, they start to get very jagged looking and yeah, shorter life, but cheaper.
Interesting. Okay. And another question in here from the same person. When you referred to the Kamakura period, this is the Kamakura Jidai, when the emperor was in Kamakura, is that?
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. All right. So the next question we have is from LaRon Harrison. LaRon, if you wouldn't mind turning on your camera and asking your question.
All right, can you hear me?
You can.
Well, I have to ask because as a person who plays court music, the question is, and you're drawing on court attire, is there interactions between Kyudo and courtly arts like Gagaku, like lineages that trace themselves back to the imperial court?
That's probably a very deep answer we won't have time to touch on, but you do see Kyudo demonstrations and courtly presentations in the same forum, in the same venue, usually at the Shinto shrines. So certainly they're related. One would do Kyudo ceremony for something special like a wedding, and one might be wearing special courtly attire for a similar event.
Yes. The Ogasawara family were asked to, turn it this way. No, turn the camera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I forgot the dates, but when Ogasawara established Ogasawara Ryu, it was because they were asked to basically codify Reiho, courtly manners, Hosha and Kisha, standing archery and horseback archery. So basically 850 years ago, it all got written down. So these days, if, for example, the Japanese court wishes to perform some sort of ceremony, they may well go to Ogasawara and ask, how do we do this? Because Ogasawara is a repository of all this knowledge. Yeah. Okay.
A quick question. I've seen, this is a question that I had myself too. Can kids do this? At what age can people start?
Sure, yeah, kids can. We start them with a very light bow because kids are still growing, right? Their skeletons, their muscles are still forming. So we need to use a light bow. They also need to have a long enough attention span. So it really depends on the maturity of the child. In Japan, kids in junior high school and high school will start Kyudo seriously. But younger folks certainly can. Tim and I did a workshop for 8 to 12-year-olds a couple years back, and we had them make their own bow. We brought a bunch of bamboo staffs, and we got some broken bowstrings, ones that had broken from our longer bows near the ends, and we tied those strings on those bamboo, and they also made their own arrows out of dowels, and it was just a lovely workshop. Everybody had a lot of fun, and I think the youngest guy got the most into it. That 8-year-old boy.
Yes.
He was very enthusiastic. Started making his own fletching. He went around the forest. We were in the redwoods. He went and found some feathers that he could find, and then he put it on his arrow to try to make a better distance arrow. Simple dowel.
That's great. That's really cool.
Here in our group, our youngest member is currently 13 years old.
13. Okay. All right. I think it'd be interesting to see, I mean, you know, everybody's different, see who kind of takes to this, the slowness of Kyudo, the slow contemplative part of it. That's, it seems to me like that, you know, that could be really good for some kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next question, we have a ton of questions in here. Anna Nielsen, would you like to turn on your camera and ask your question?
Sure thing. I hope you can hear me. Thank you so much for such a lovely and informative presentation. I had a question about the Yabusame aspect. I am an archaeologist studying equestrianism and horse tack in Japan's Kofun period, so rather before this. And then I also own horses and ride in my regular life. And I understand how hard it is to do anything else on the back of a galloping horse. How do students move from riding the mokuba to riding an actual horse, and do students need to come with equestrian experience already? How is Yabusame equestrianism different from regular horse riding?
I would say different in many aspects. It's as different as Kyudo is from Western archery, Japanese.
Do you want to look at the stirrups, for example? All right, we're looking at the saddle.
So when you study Yabusame, you don't need prior experience with the horse. because what you do is in the training, you learn to balance in the saddle, and you're not sitting in the saddle, you're raised off the saddle. Just your heels are in contact with the flank of the horse here, and your bum is actually raised off the saddle. So you have to learn to really have a very strong core and to balance yourself in the stirrups on that core. So when the horse is galloping, it feels the same as being on here, or should do. If it doesn't, it means you need to work more on your core and your sort of central balance, as it were. So if you train a lot on the mokuba, then when you ride, it should feel the same. Obviously, the difference is getting on the horse and stopping the horse. Stopping the horse is often quite challenging because the horses run at a full gallop. So that's what I can say there. So we have several students here who've started to train Yabusame on the mokuba, and maybe they will train on the mokuba for maybe 1-2 years before we go to the horses and actually put them on the horse. Does that help?
And thanks very much, Anna. And there's a similar question here or a related question here from Laura. Is it Laura? Do you want to turn on your camera and ask your question? I think it kind of fits in with the question about Yabusame.
Yeah, actually, thank you. So I have a friend who's really into Ottoman archery, and we actually kind of got into this debate when I was telling him about Kyudo, because I've always been really interested in Kyudo and also in the horseback archery of the Plains tribes. And I was telling him about how in Kyudo, it looks like you use the long bow, and he was saying, no, you can't use the long bow when you're on horseback. It has to be like 3 to 4 feet or a short bow. But from everything I'm seeing, it's still that long 7-foot bow. Like, how does that work? Is that just the difference between the European, Middle Eastern, and the Chinese, Japanese styles, or?
Yeah. So keep in mind, when I was talking about the structure of the bow, it's asymmetrical. So our grip is in the lower third of this bow. And the bow itself is held on the left side of the horse. And
right.
Let's see, maybe you'll do a quick demonstration to kind of show how this long bow is used.
So
Yeah.
The big question is, how did the Japanese bow develop? So Maria talked about the nature of the materials of bamboo and how that will kind of create a bow with the balance point about 1/3 of the way up. But the, how should we say, the really good benefit of that is that the lower limb is short. Yeah, a Yabusame bow or a Kyudo bow, Japanese bow, the grip is 1/3 of the way up the bow. So actually, when I'm working with the bow, it doesn't interfere with the horse. And you can shoot this way. In certain styles of Yabusame, they will also shoot ahead, and they will shoot the parting shot as well. They will shoot behind. The Ogasawara style of Yabusame is strictly shooting at a very close target to the side, although you have to aim slightly behind in order to hit the target because the horse is moving very quickly.
Yeah.
But, yeah, but you can see that the bow actually, doesn't get in the way.
That makes sense then, of course. Because with the European longbows, it's in the center, right? So that doesn't make sense to use it on a horse. But with this one, I can see how that works. Thank you.
The thing to remember is there's a big misconception. When people think of Japan martial arts, they think samurai, they think, swords. The principal weapon of the samurai back in the day was their yumi on horseback. This was their. So when you learn to ride with the Yumi, you have to learn to control the horse and hold the bow and nock the arrow, and then right hand is also free and available to draw a sword if necessary. But your principal weapon for the samurai would be that bow. Yeah.
Okay,
That's great.
thank you very much.
So we have a few questions here about, so obviously you guys have been at this for a very long time. You're very accomplished. What does practice look like at the beginning? What is it, how does someone, what would practice or training look like early on for someone? Do you start with a shorter bow? Do you, how does that work?
We start by showing them the hasatsu. We say, do ashibumi. So they have to stand straight,
Right.
first of all.
Go and come and stand over here.
Okay.
Background.
All right, stand here.
Yeah.
All right. First, we start with nothing, no equipment. They can wear a t-shirt, long pants. That's fine. We just show them the basic movements. Gaze at the target. Place your left foot into ashibumi. Move your right foot. Now you've established your aim already. You need to do your dozukuri, the central core stability. Make sure your spine is straight, shoulders are level, hips and feet all aligned. You do yugamai. So we have them just imagine holding a bow in their left hand, holding arrows, having a glove on their right. And then we have them gaze at the target and raise the bow straight up. At this point, people tend to want to sort of go toward the target already, but in the form where we practice, the bow is still in front of you for this demonstration. We show hikiwake, drawing apart, with that pause at half draw. We show kai, and we explain that this is a moment of building your energy, pushing your breath down, calming your spirit until the moment of release, which you're not physically causing. It's a physical expansion, opening, and the release happens.
Yeah.
A moment of stillness after the release, which is zanshin. And then we have them repeat that quite a bit. Then we might take them to a stretchy band. This is a simple TheraBand. And have them do the same thing. The nice thing about this is it gives you some resistance to draw against. So I can be opening this. Now this TheraBand, you see this is the position where the arrow would be. So they can feel, when they're in full draw, they're gonna feel the arrow against their face. And then if they just keep expanding, shoulders apart, open from the chest, they let the thing fly. Kids like this a lot. So then we start with a very light bow. So bows are measured at 85 or 90 or 95 centimeters, depending on the size of the bow. So
that's the draw length, yeah.
That's the draw length. So our smallest bow is measured at 85 centimeters, and our lightest bow is just 9 kilograms at 85 centimeters draw. So someone who's smaller than that draw length, and that would be measured from the center of your throat to the extended tip of your longest finger. If your draw length is shorter than 85 centimeter, you're not opening that bow fully, so its weight is going to be even lighter, its draw weight. So yeah, we just start people with very light bows to get started.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, and when you say we have them repeat that quite a bit, so I have a feeling that means 10,000 times. Is that like you spend an hour drawing the bow over and over and over again, repeatedly?
Well, I do pay attention to people's attention span, which these days is sometimes a bit short. A lot of different activities we have people do. Some of it is learning to walk with simplicity, practicality, and beauty. So we'll teach walking some
Yes.
days. We'll teach
Yeah.
standing, how to stand.
Yes.
Something so simple.
Yeah.
And yes, we'll teach showing them like shooting at the makiwara, the short distance target.
Yeah.
And once they're self-sufficient, they can
Yeah.
do that practice on their own.
Yeah. So I think we should mention also, yeah. We should mention also that that Kyudo is not an individual thing. Kyudo is a group thing. To perform Kyudo, you have to learn to perform as a group. So we have a space here for 5 targets. And when we're teaching on Sundays, we have 5 targets set up. Students the targets. So, whoop, what's that?
That's a phone call's coming in.
Oh, just decline. Yeah. Am I still here? Yes.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no. Anyway, so the archers, the students come in as a group. So we put beginners like, you know, in the middle of the group, so they don't have to shoot arrows, but they can learn to walk and to breathe and to stand and to perform these actions, the tai-hai, as a group. So learning the tai-hai is as important as learning to shoot the bow. So it's not just repeating the action of shooting, it's repeating and learning, getting kind of physical muscle memory about how to perform the tai-hai as well. Yeah.
Great.